Hey, Spirit and Truth podcast. We are so excited for today's podcast entitled The History of STC and Español. If you were able to tune in for our episode with Pastor Koppel, we talked about the history of Spirit and Truth Church as a whole. But today we're going to zoom in on the 2 p.m. service, the Spanish congregation led by Pastor Cesar Iberri. And we're going to talk about from the beginning, from the conception of it or the inception of it, all the way till today. So we're going to go through all that. So I hope you're interested. I think this is going to be a great podcast. I love knowing about these things, and let's jump right into it. So Pastor Cesar, thank you for coming on today. We're really excited, but let's kick it off with this first question. So can you take us back to the very beginning? How did STC, or Spirit and Truth Church, and Español get started? And what are some of the first steps in launching this ministry?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, I'm excited and happy to be here and share this because it's God's hand is truly moving. Mm-hmm. When it first started, I want to say it was right before COVID. Mm-hmm. And, we talked a little bit earlier when things right before COVID, it seems like they were just compounded, right? And that just makes them that much more special. But right before COVID, we had like an exploratory meeting at our senior pastor, Pastor Koppel's office.
This was in like 2019.
2019, got it. The end of 2019. Yeah. And he said, you know what, I feel in my spirit that it's time that we have a bilingual or a Spanish mm-hmm. congregation. And he reached out to me and there's a couple individuals in the room. And we kind of just picked each other's brain. And I said, you know what, I felt this for a while myself. So our spirits kind of aligned there. And we started in 2019 originally, and then COVID happened. Mm-hmm. And then it's, became kind of difficult. But to be exact, I want to say November of 2020 is when we started.
Yeah. So in the beginning, we were talking about this before, but you start off on Saturdays, I think, right?
Yes. So initially it was, we were kind of just, cast the big net to see who how engage the interest. And we started originally once a month, Saturdays at, I believe, 6.
And did that go for all of 2020 or were we all just filming at the time? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I think the filming was off and on. I think we started to come back, but we were doing it once a month for about 6 months.
Okay.
We did it for about 6 months, and we kind of reconvened and said, that's not working.
And then it moved to what?
Then it moved to Sunday nights, and it was still only once a week, once a month, mm-hmm. Sunday nights, but that was at 5 p.m. Mm-hmm. And now it's 3 years now since 2022. We meet weekly, first at 3 p.m. and for the last 2 years now we're set at our standard time of 2 p.m.
And so today it's at 2 p.m. and I know I was asking him about this, but it's going great. It seems like that's an awesome time to have it. We've got our 9 a.m., our 11 for English, and then 2 p.m. is Spanish. And I know that's worked out really well. How do you feel about that time?
I think it's ideal. I mean, I know my people they semi like to sleep in. It's good. You come in the middle of the day. You come and have good worship, good word, good fellowship, and then you go have dinner. So it's a great time, and it works for us there in our.
And I know we have Brother Israel who helps with our podcast. He's done the music for a long time. But how did you to launch that ministry? How did you build that team? What were you looking for?
So
in people?
Initially, when we started, there was 36 of us.
Mm-hmm.
36 of us, and for a while, it's God telling us we need to trust Him because for the first couple of times, it was just us showing up, right? Mm-hmm. Very few people. Mm-hmm. And we had Brother Israel, and at that time, Brother Israel and his ministry, he was at another church. Actually, he wasn't here full time, so that kind of helped when he got here. Yeah. So he kind of helped, and so we kind of worked around it. We met and kind of cast the vision a little bit, let everybody know what we expected. And we were just building on that, right? I think I wanted to make sure there was buy-in from all the volunteers. We have great volunteers, and that's a big reason why we're thriving. But yeah, it was just we met, discussed. There was no questions. There was an understanding of what we wanted to do and what we wanted to accomplish based on what God had given us in the vision, and move forward from there.
Yeah. And I know that's been very successful. And we were just celebrating today. It's in our Tuesday staff meeting. You had 190, I think, at service on Sunday. So it's amazing to see from 36 to 190 what God's doing. And I'm just so sanctified, proud of our church and making sure that we have this offered because there's so many people in Orange County who speak Spanish or come from a Spanish culture, and it's so necessary today. Now let's jump to the second question. Do you have anything else on that one?
No, I think we're good.
Cool.
I agree with you. It is a blessing, specifically with our community where we're at, right?
Yeah.
You base it on the demographics, and this community and extends throughout Orange County. Mm-hmm. We have people coming as far out as LA County, Riverside County, and that kind of speaks volumes because it's very similar to our English services where people, when you find something you like, you're willing to drive and come to it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And let's go to number 2. So what are some key moments or breakthroughs you've seen over the years? And I know we've actually kind of mentioned some already, but what can you say to that?
Okay, so a couple things that stand out. So, mentioned going back really quick to the numerical factor. Not that that's the number one important thing, but just so people could see the progression. We went from 36 initially, and then I tracked the last 3 years around this same time, July-ish of the year 2023. We were, I think, at 88, and then in 2024 we were at 112, and then 2 weeks ago I took the same tally, and we're averaging 152 people around the same time.
Awesome.
So you see the numerical growth, but it's great because it's just not that, but you do see people's lives being impacted. Miracles. We do serve a living God, and miracles still do happen. People are sharing their testimonies, and it's just great just seeing the progression, not just again in numbers, but in people's lives and their commitment and in things that are happening and the growth of the church overall. It's great to see.
And I know, again, we call it STC and Español because a big focus of our ministry, of our staff, is that the Spanish congregation gets the same opportunities that we offer in English. We want to make sure it's matched. And to speak more to that, I know now we have Next Steps 1 and 2 on Sundays. And I know you guys have just had so many people going through that. Can you talk about Next Steps and what that is for somebody who's listening and maybe doesn't know?
Sure. So, like Brother Joshua mentioned here, it's the same high level of quality that if you come to expect, you ever come to one of the English services, it's very similar. We're at that same level, and that's why we just literally just branded it the same thing. Espíritu y Verdad, just translate straight into Spanish because it's the same thing, right? But just at another level. But the pillars of our church, they remain the same, which is, it's the Sunday worship, Sunday experience, and I believe people do feel that. They feel the presence of God when they come into this place. Our life groups and the Next Steps, which you mentioned, and the Next Steps is where it's a discipleship program that we have and develops, lets you know what we believe, what you're coming into, understanding based on biblical principles. And this year we launched that, and we've had quite a bit of success or people going through it because they want to know we're here at this church. We believe, we want to take part, we want to understand, we want to grow, and that's really what we're here for, right? We want to make sure we bless people, help them understand the church is here to bless, guide, lead, direct, and be part of the community with everybody else.
Yeah. And I know, and he mentioned it, but we have those different pillars of our church, and life groups is one of them, like Next Steps. But I believe you just led a group, Romanos, which is the book of Romans.
Yes.
It was either this trimester or last trimester or something.
Yes.
But I see the growth in the Spanish church's life groups, in that congregation's life groups, because you're starting to branch out and you're doing studies that apply to your congregation.
Yes.
Because we didn't offer Romanos in English, but that's okay. Because again, you got to go where you're at, and you got to feed the people in the way they need to be fed. And I just love seeing that growth there, because that's something that was birthed out of their interest in the book of Romans. And there was a big group that wanted to go and participate, and it looked like it was really successful.
Yeah, it was. If I could just add to it, it was really great. We've been doing life groups here at this church for about 6 or 7 years, and it wasn't because it was our Spanish group, but the book of Romanos, the book of Romans. It was awesome because, like you mentioned, they were hungry.
Yeah.
Right. So you got the questions, and it's like, okay, you're feeding them, and they're eating. They were like, okay, let's discuss. Let's get through. So it was something that was birthed, something that would pique their interest. So even more reason for them to buy in and be part of it.
For sure. All right, number 3, how have you seen families and individuals in our community impacted?
Initially when we go back to that exploratory meeting, if you will, in Pastor Koppel's office, we talked about, okay, what are we looking at? Who are we expecting to come? And to be honest, I thought because of just, sometimes life or church politics and so on, I really thought that the big pool was going to be for backsliders, if you will, or people that, kind of lost their way.
Sure.
And that's still the case somewhat, but in reality, we're getting unchurched people, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which, completely have no idea. There was this one life group where I was at where they're literally having life groups. They're having a life group at the mall, and these are totally unchurched people.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to open the Bible. It's like that, but it's awesome because you initially thought you were reaching for this group of people, but now the net's much wider, and you're getting all kinds. So now you see in our congregation, everybody mixed, some seasoned, some unseasoned, some new, some, so it's great. So I see that the community being impacted, which is what it should be intended. We have something great to offer, right? Our message, the gospel, what we preach is awesome. There's no reason just to keep it for the church.
Yes.
So it's great that we extend it out to the community. I see the impact there.
Yeah. And I know I love the fact that literally if you look on the Espiritu Verdad Instagram, I see so many faces I don't know. And I love that because, I mean, as much as I love to see your face, Cesar, and Israel and Tyrell and all my friends, I love even more seeing people that I've never met before and knowing that I'm a part of a church that is bringing in the harvest even when I'm not a part of it. It's so cool to see something that I have no Spanish abilities. It's very poquito. So very small. But you guys do, and you guys have the music. It's different. It's cool, and it all reaches somebody like you said, and that's the goal of the church. Is the Great Commission is one of our goals. We want to get out there and get these unchurched people. So I love it. Yeah, for sure. Okay, number 4. What do you believe makes STC and Español unique, not just in language, but in culture, worship, community life? What can you say to that?
I would say, and I think this ties in a little bit to the vision, because language and culture, it is different, right? And anybody that's ever been outside of the United States, they know it's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. It's you sometimes hear the same song in English and in Spanish that is translated. And maybe it's just because it's a Romance language, or it's more passionate, or it just seems stronger when it comes in Spanish, right? Even when it's like a negative word. So now they hear it in Spanish, it's like, oh, it sounds worse, right? Because there's just so much passion behind it. And I think that's connected to the culture. With the worship, and Brother Israel helps us, and the worship team, it's awesome. You get in there and you feel the passion, you feel the dedication, and then you got the rhythm going, and it's in the culture, so it's just something vibrant, and it's contagious. You go in there, so okay, I like this, right? Because it feels like this is what heaven's going to be like. In a sense, it's going to be worship. It's going to be celebration. It's not going to be quiet. It's not going to be what you singing an old hymn. It's going to be celebration. It's probably going to be loud because we're going to be in the presence of Almighty God. But we want to make sure that part of the culture comes out, right? And I think what makes us unique in regards to community life is that if you go back to one of the original things that I mentioned with our culture, and the staff knows when I talk to them, because I really do want them to have a buy-in and understand. If you go back to old church, right? You go back to old church. Old church was nothing wrong with it, but old church was church 7 days a week. You were there no matter what, right? You were there Sunday. Even you had youth group. Even if you were in youth group, you still showed up. So you were there 7 days a week. But there was community built in because the church, in a sense, lived as part of each other's lives, right? I think as the church has progressed and here in the United States with our busyness and everything else, we've kind of gone away from that in a sense of, okay, well, we come to church on Sundays and maybe we're here life group. The way I see it is this. We celebrate on Sundays as a community, as a church body, as a family. But we still live life those other days. We don't have to necessarily come to church every single day, but we can have dinner here, have prayer here, right? So I think the culture piece helps us a lot because we connect very well. We connect very well doing life together. And that just makes even more thinking, okay, this is not the pastor's church, or this is not someone's, this is our church. This is my church, right? And to give you an example, last year we had an all-night prayer, a vigil. We had an all-night prayer, and not many people signed up for an all-night prayer, right? From 10 to 6. So I thought, okay, well, let's see how many people actually show up, maybe for a couple hours and pray. I had 85% of the congregation show up on a Friday for all-night prayer. But it's because, okay, this is what we're doing in the church. We're doing it as a family.
And English may not have got that.
And again, it's part of the culture. They like doing this. We have cafecito and panecito. We have sweet bread and coffee every Sunday. Boom. It's awesome, right? And it's like that's just an added bonus. You come for the worship, you get the word, you get the touch of God, but you also get some sweet bread afterwards. And I think it's just, again, our culture likes that. Any excuse to get this. It's just like the old Jews. Everything they did is celebrated with a feast. It's very similar here, right? Any excuse, and I know some of the other cultures are not so used to that. They're like, well, I came to church and I'm going to go home. But here it's like, this is still my church family. Right. So I think if we supply that atmosphere, it lends itself to more community and more church building.
And I know another unique part of our Spanish congregation is that we have the services offered bilingual.
Yes.
So that means that has allowed a couple cool things from my perspective, where you can have someone preach in English and then it's translated in Spanish, or reverse. Obviously, anytime it's translated in Spanish, you could still provide English translations for those in the audience who are maybe young, and maybe that, you know, we got young kids who they go to school here, they learn English, and they don't learn, their Spanish isn't as great. So we're not going to alienate them, or it's not going to be a service where only Spanish speakers can attend. Now, we're not saying that we're aiming the service at English speakers, but what do you think about that? What are the benefits of bilingual?
No, that's a great point. You brought that up, and I want to let everybody know that's watching this podcast, listening to this podcast, and that is true. All of our services are translated either from English into Spanish or Spanish into English, but that's an added bonus, because you're right. Say, for example, most of our congregation speaks Spanish, or they're bilingual, or the Spanish is their primary language. But their kids, more likely or not, are going to only speak English. Or, that's their language of preference. So we want to make sure we don't alienate anybody, and everybody gets the word. As a matter of fact, there is a family now that comes to one of our English services, but they came through the way of our Spanish. And they're an Indian family. So obviously they don't speak Spanish, right? But they came and they're like, oh, we're glad that they were translated. They received the word, and now they're connected to one of our English congregations. We don't want to alienate everybody. We want to know that that the word that comes forward, it's going to bless somebody. Regardless if it's English is your first language or Spanish is your first language, right? And we want to make sure that we facilitate that. Yes, this little metropolis of Orange County has all kinds of languages. If we knew more, we can do more. Sure. But right now we focus on English and Spanish to bless the congregations.
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up. I hope you've enjoyed it, but here's our last question, a little bit of vision casting.
Sure.
As you look to the future, what is your prayer or your dream for the next 5 to 10 years?
I would say in the next 5 to 10 years, not just a numerical growth, not just maturity for our church, but a greater impact in this community. A greater impact. Just as we've seen minor snippets that God has allowed us to have, and with miracles and with testimonies. And I mean, I can go on and on. We only have a few minutes. I can go on and on about that just in this brief time. But I really see the vision as we expand what we believe in at Espíritu de Verdad and STC in Español. We expand in our vision to everybody else, have a greater impact in our community, in our county, in our churches, right? To be almost like a staple church. Not that we want to stand out, because this is all kingdom work anyway. It's not for me or anybody else. This is all for God. But so we can say, okay, they thrive there. Why can't we do this somewhere else? And maybe this could be a staple or an example now in case we build out to another congregation, say for the Asian community and so on. So follow this template, but be under authority, be in prayer, be guided by God. But I really do feel that we're going to have a greater impact on our community if we just stay focused, stay humble, stay dedicated, and stay faithful to the things of God. And He's going to take care of this impact that was based on His promises and the visions that He has for us.
Amen. Yeah, I believe it. I know one of the big questions for churches is always, would your community miss you if you were gone? If you closed your doors, would they even notice? And we want to make sure that if we're not here, they notice.
Yes, amen.
And we want to make sure the same way we're here and they notice.
Amen.
So
yes.
I agree with you, and I believe that, Brother Cesar. And we'll close this out. But thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Pastor Cesar, for being on here with me. This has been a pleasure. And I hope anyone listening is interested in Spirit and Truth en Español at 2 p.m. Whether you speak Spanish or not, you can go.
Yes.
There's some vibrant music and some great preaching. And invite your friends and family to it, and we will see you there. So God bless.
Bless you.